Welcome back to our unique and informative knowledge sharing platform, the Lighthouse Talks with our India experts. Thank you for following us and encouraging us to remain innovative. Stay tuned, stay connected.
A very warm welcome to Rödl and Partner presents the Lighthouse Talks with our India experts. In this series, we aim to decode compliances required for operating in India. In our today's session, we have with us Chhavi Jain. She is a senior consultant at Rödl and Partner and a qualified lawyer. Chhavi has an expertise in the product licensing and registration related compliances in the Indian market. Welcome, Chhavi.
Thank you, Anushrii. I'm happy to be here.
So, Chhavi, could you please elaborate the topic for our viewers?
Sure. So, ISI mark is something that we've seen in the products that we use on a daily basis, right? Like, for example, a battery, a camera, or a charging adapter for that matter. ISI mark is basically the mark of quality that that product holds. Now, this ISI mark is issued by BIS, that is the Bureau of Indian Standards. BIS has issued certain Indian standards which are basically the quality standards for various products in the Indian market. BIS has mandated certain products to be licensed, whereas certain other products are still within the voluntary licensing list.
So, Chhavi, another question that flows from here is who exactly has to obtain this ISI mark or BIS license?
See, Anushrii, as per the statute, every manufacturer, producer, importer, distributor, or even a seller is required to obtain this ISI mark or the BIS registration. Basically, the intent of the statute is to ensure that every person who is dealing with a product in the Indian market has obtained a valid license. Although when it comes to filing an application with BIS for obtaining this ISI mark, it is the manufacturer of the product who has to obtain this ISI mark in their own name.
Now that we understood this, what are the implications that a person faces due to not registering their product?
So, if you have not obtained a license for a product which falls in the mandatory list, you may not be permitted to introduce that product in India. For example, if we talk about, let's say, importing such a product which does not have a valid license, the customs department may not clear the product at the time of customs clearance unless you produce a valid license. If your product is being withheld at the time of customs, you may have to pay additional costs like demerit charges or even the charges to destroy that product. More than the additional charges actually, the importer will not be permitted to fulfill the purpose for which that product was being imported in the first place. This does have adverse effect on the business of the company and the importer.
This seems to have massive ramifications. Well, it would be very helpful for our viewers to know how much time does it take to obtain the license.
Okay, see, usually it takes about 8 to 10 months. But it depends on a lot of factors like the technical specifications of your product, the time taken in collating all the information prior to application, the time taken for the authorities to respond in case a clarification is to be sought. Hence, it is advisable to commence your application process at least 1 year prior to commencing your business of that particular product in the Indian market.
That's great to know. So, dear viewers, a very important point to remember here that it takes 1 year to complete this whole process. Well, Chhavi, with your experience in this field, what are the usual challenges that people face to obtain the license?
That's a very good question, Anushrii. So, the first and most common challenge is because this is a fairly new and a developing requirement, the authorities are still in process of notifying various products in the mandatory registration requirement category. Because of this, it may happen so that, let's say, an importer may have imported a certain product in India 2 years ago without any hindrances and with a lot of smoothness, but now the authorities may have issued a notification requiring a mandatory license for the same product they're dealing in. Secondly, since this is a developing requirement, the authorities are also in process of putting systems in place to execute the licensing with ease, and currently there may be certain hiccups which an applicant may face. But considering the intent and the quality assurance and standardization of any product that comes into the Indian market, I think it's only a matter of time when the licensing requirements are stricter than ever.
That was indeed a very detailed information, Chhavi. So before you go, please give a last piece of advice to our viewers to ensure an easy adherence to the product license requirement.
Okay, so considering the timelines and the challenges that we just discussed, I think it is highly advisable for any importer or any person dealing with a product in India to conduct an in-depth analysis of the licensing requirement of their products prior to importing that product in India or introducing that product in the Indian market.
Thank you so much for this wonderful session, Chhavi. Well, this session is going to be relevant for all our viewers considering the growth of quality standardization in India.
Thank you, Anushrii. Thank you for inviting me to the session. I'm always delighted to share my views with our viewer. I'll be happy to answer any questions in this regard.
Please feel free to contact Chhavi. The contact information is available in the bio of this video. With this, we conclude our today's session. Dear viewers, we would be delighted to remain connected with you with many more informative and interesting topics via Rödl and Partner presents the Lighthouse Talks with our India experts. Until then, please be safe, grow your business and play by the rules.